Yo, what's up,
Hey,
everybody? What's up, man? It's your boy
what's
Rillo in the
up?
building
Back in
with
this
another
thing.
episode of the Black Lunch Break, man. How y'all doing today? How y'all feeling?
Good, good. How you
Feeling
feeling?
great.
I'm good. Today has been quite the day so far, man. A lot of moving pieces going around in Black with No Chaser land. We're happy to be on with y'all, beautiful sisters, man. So today, just so y'all know out there, we have Biden's campaign. He's the paid media, African American paid media director. His name is Cameron Trimble. He'll be joining us very soon at about 1:15 Eastern time, 12:15 Central time. And of course, if you in LA or the West Coast or whatever, then it'll be at some point when y'all get up in the morning, right?
Right.
We're so glad y'all could join us from all across the country and the world, y'all. To be honest, and if you just join us right now, making sure that you are tapping that share button, you're liking, commenting everything that we are doing right here on Black Window Chaser. We do appreciate y'all in advance for always supporting what we do, y'all. Honestly, without y'all, we really couldn't be doing what we're doing right now. Oh, we would be doing it, but we'd just be talking to ourselves, right? So
Yeah,
that would be just weird.
we
Yeah,
still
we'll
gonna
just
do
be
I
it
mean, but y'all
regardless.
cool
we'll just
too.
be
Yeah, y'all cool too. Y'all cool
oh
too.
yeah. It'll still be the black lunch break, but just kind of like more in a siloed fashion.
Right,
It'll
right,
be like
right.
Exactly.
but anyway, so look, y'all. As always, I believe the last day, especially I don't know if it's in Mississippi, right? It's the last. Oh, registration was yeah. The voting
It's
registration
over.
to
The fifth.
vote is over, right? It's over in Mississippi. So you haven't registered, that ship has sailed. But if you have registered, make sure you have a plan to vote. That's super important. That goes for everybody across the board nationally. Obviously, it's probably one of the, and this may not be even hyperbole at this point, we are probably entering the most important election cycles of our entire lives, y'all. Right here,
Right.
right now, on November 3rd. And really, you should be voting right now if you can. I know a number of states, over a dozen states, have already opened up absentee ballot voting. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you're doing so. But if you don't want to vote in absentee ballot, make sure that you have a plan to vote in person. Make it a party. Bring all your friends, your people, your family, your community members, whatever you could do to kind of organize folks around you. That would be dope. Uh,
That would be
Corona, the COVID virus, y'all still around, man. Trump the other day, if y'all viewed our
oh my
IG page,
god. That video
Trump,
of him trying to
Trump,
breathe.
bro, this man up there
He got the
wheezing.
Rona, y'all. He got the Rona.
Like, what you trying to prove, man? That man out there look like he is about to go any moment now. Talking about stand strong. The coronavirus can't beat you. I mean, yeah, look, we do want you to stand strong, but we want you to stand strong in the most safety, like the most safest possible manner, which is
Most
also
common sense way.
wearing your mask, right? We see
Yeah.
that many people that were at the Rose Garden event for the presumptive nominee that's going to be put forth at the Supreme Court, uh, everybody was mask free, right? Republican senators now have contracted it. We got the actual national press secretary. She
That
has
shit is
contracted
wild,
COVID
bro.
virus. I mean, literally everybody around Trump, whoever started it, we don't even know now what those people have like done when they went back to their own circles. So it's probably just spreading like rampant with
Yeah.
everybody in their circle, which is crazy. And at the end of the day, there's still people, and we do feel some sort of remorse for what's going on, and we don't want them to spread it to anybody else. But understand this though,
Right.
that COVID is real. And clearly, like, it doesn't matter where you sit on a totem pole. You could be at the highest office in the land, all the way down to folks on the street. Guess what? Like, you can contract COVID, folks. So make sure you wearing your mask, and making sure you're not being goofy as hell like Trump, and make sure you are registered to vote, or wherever you can, and you got a plan to vote. That's super important. And the census is done, right? It's over with. So the census, if you haven't taken the census, come on, y'all. Look, I guess we gotta wait another 10 years for you to hop on board the census train. But look,
Wow.
that ship has sailed. So we'll see what the results came back this time around. But anyway, on with the show, y'all. On with the show. Miss Mariana, how you doing? Sika, what's
I'm
up?
Woo,
doing
woo.
good, man. I wanted to remind everybody that we do have an interview that has dropped with Tamika Mallory. So you guys make sure that you're tuning in on Black with No Chaser here on
So
Facebook
dope.
and also on Instagram. It's a great interview with our head writer Angela Dennis and our CEO CJ Lawrence. They had a wonderful conversation about everything up to until freedom. They also
Yeah.
discussed a lot of her activism, and they also are discussing how she is plugging into the communities. And one thing that I found that stood out about her interview is how whichever areas she's choosing to go and put her foot down in the community with, she's making sure that she's connecting with the community leader and making sure that she's not overstepping any boundaries, checking with the community, seeing how they feel, seeing what they want. And she's actually so involved. And we appreciate her doing all the work that she has been doing, because, you know, it takes strength to do something like that. And her character and her schedule is wild. And the fact that
so down to earth. So down to earth.
And we're glad that she, you know, found a little corner for us and came to speak to us. So we want you guys to make sure that you go and you check out that interview and show the team some love, and definitely show Tamika Mallory some love. Shout out to them.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent.
Willow, can you tell us a little bit something about social change? What we got going on with that, yo?
Well, look, man, I'm so glad you asked, Sika. So Social Change, y'all, if y'all don't know, is a advocacy organization based around criminal justice transformation work, not just in states, but probably more importantly these days in local in cities like Chicago, Sacramento, LA, New York City. And so right now they have a annual event that's happening right now across the world. It's International Virtual Film Festival. Usually it's in person, and it will be in New York City, it'll be in Chicago, it'll be in LA. This year they also had an opportunity to be in Switzerland, over in Australia, but unfortunately because of COVID-19, they had to shut it down. But this weekend, y'all, we will be streaming the entire virtual film fest right from our platform. So folks, lock in for that. We'll be putting out more promotional material, so you can kind of lock into that. But that happens on the weekends, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for the West Coast folks, y'all figure out the math in there. Y'all just 2 to 3 hours behind.
You know, see how y'all do us.
I'm just saying, man. Look, it's no hard feelings. I just feel like
that's why I'm always late to our meetings, because I'm having to calculate.
For sure. No, we get it, y'all. It's but this is the Black Lunch Break, man. I'm with Miss Mariana and Sika in the building. Of course, don't forget about your boy Rillo. Again, so glad y'all could make it. In about 8 minutes from now, we're gonna have Cameron Trimble, which is the African American paid media director for the Biden campaign. If you don't know what that means, guess what? He'll be on to explain what the hell is paid media and why is that so important right now in this election cycle as it pertains to Black folk, right? And so I know that I don't know, hey y'all, why y'all think this is off topic for a second. Why y'all think campaigns be like so afraid to say like Black? Like they gotta be like African American. Like, y'all, we Black here. Would you rather be called Black or African American? Like, what is that? I mean, because I feel like that's some like generational divide shit too.
I do. I would rather be called Black. Not any shade or anything to the African America, but American terminology, because I mean, of course, we refer to that, but for a lack of let's say uniqueness, I refer to Black, and I think that a lot of people probably steer away from it because I think that they think that it looks unprofessional, but it really doesn't, because there's nothing that's unprofessional about the Black culture, Black diaspora, everything. And I think that it's something about having to be able to embrace that in a particular way for you to be able to confidently use that word versus using what society or the traditionals would consider professional, using the term African American. That's my side on it.
Yeah. So for me, I'm not so attached to it. I mean, I say Black on a regular, right? And I think no matter where you go on the planet, if you say Black person, no matter what their nationality is, but I kind of come from more of a Pan-African perspective, because although I was raised and born here in America, my father's got Moroccan in his bloodline. My mom comes from the Cape Verdean bloodline, which are all West African. And then I was raised in a very rich Afrocentric, community here in America. So person of color, of African descent, Black, like, I know what you're talking about. I can't get too attached on labels because everybody got something. As long as you know that I'm of African descent, and no matter how light skinned of an African I am, I'm a Black woman at my heart. So that's what's important to me.
How you feel, bro?
I mean, personally, I'm like, one thing about the using the term like Black, African American, Black immigrants, right? Like I feel like it's a way to be like a little divisive. And to me, it's like, if you Black, right? And you part of diaspora, then you black to me. Whether you're Afro Latina, a Latino Latinx,
Right.
whether you like, I mean, wherever you fall on the spectrum, I feel like black allows us to kind of like come together under one umbrella. And then for folks out there that really don't want to be under one umbrella, well, then that's cool too. But I'm more communal in the way I try to reach out and like connect with my folks. And so I choose black, but everybody, doesn't have to. If you per African American, that's also your choice. But I don't know, man. Just like black makes it simple, and it's less words. It's one syllable. Like yo, black, not African American, not this. It's just like black. And I think that
Right.
also too is like the word black. It just sounds powerful, right? It sounds like yo, black.
It does.
You know what I mean? It just like it
But
got that. It got that.
what do you feel about people of color? Because I saw somebody gang banging online like over people of color, and they felt that it diminished because it's encompass of all people. And there was a sister was like, I'm not a person of color, I'm a black person. So I guess context has to do with it. But do you bug out if you're referred to as a
Oh,
person of color?
that's so.
I
Okay,
think it depends
technically,
on who's calling me that. I really
Right.
do.
I think technically we are people of color, right?
Right.
As it pertains to a politically correct term, I think that the reason why some black folk do not want to be looped in with people of color, especially when it comes from like messaging in media and stuff like that,
Right.
is because it's a way in which to actually remove black people or kind of further like say, hey, people of color got it. These people all got it. I don't know what y'all fussing about. So black people try to find a way to make sure that black people get what we deserve, right? Whether in form of like, economic justice, environmental justice. We want to be able to speak to our community specifically. But at the same time, that we want to make sure that like, people of color generally are coming together and realizing our collective power is super important. But I think
Right.
that when a sister says to your question about why she feels like that, why that person may feel like that, I think that they're just trying to make the demarcation or set the line in the sand
Right.
that yeah, we people of color, but black people are still treated like this, so we still want to be able to address black issues head on.
Right.
That's what I think.
And plus two, we're so divided. So a person who is not of color trying to refer, they're probably like, I don't know what the heck to call y'all because every 5-10 years you change it. And then when you change it, y'all fighting amongst yourselves. So it's probably like one size fits all for everybody.
I agree. I agree. It's an interesting topic. I mean, I wonder if we were to ask someone from Africa, would they be offended if they weren't referred to as African American? And how would they feel if they were referred to as straight black? I wonder how they feel.
Hmm.
That I'll tell you what though. So Florida, right? Let's say Florida for example. Florida is very interesting the way it does politics, right? The black immigrant community doesn't, or a set of communities don't necessarily like engage with American like black folks, right? Like there's this divide, and it really, really, really does affect politics in Florida. And so like they're dealing with their own set of issues. And granted, like this is not everybody, right? Every black immigrant or somebody from outside of the United States or from the Florida or coming into the United States, I don't feel like every person feels like that. But on the other side, though, there's a lot of black Americans, right? We're born right here that don't feel there's a real connection with black immigrant folks, right? And so I
Right.
said, look, y'all, let's make this easy, okay? And we're not saying shut up all the cultural aspects of what you bring to the table, right? In terms of like where
Right.
your family is from, where you were from. What we're saying is that when white folks see somebody black, they're not trying to guess whether or not you're Nigerian or you from Sierra Leone or you
Right.
from Afro Latina or something like that. They're going, you black. And then like, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? So like it's really about a way in which, and I'm not saying let white people define on what it is that you are, all right, or what we are, but it's allowing us to actually collectively come together on a host of issues that's affecting black people generally across the board, right? And so that
Right.
to me is what it's about. But I could also be wrong.
Right. And those are the differences of like the social nuances and stuff between culture. Cause we can say like person from the South and somebody be ready to go to gloves with you if you mix up a Texan to somebody from Louisiana to somebody from Alabama. There's some differences there, but they're all Southerners. So kind of the same thing with being black. Like no matter what your culture is or your background is, the bottom line is you've been kissed by the sun just a little bit somewhere in your bloodline. It's gonna come through and it's gonna show somehow.
So true. I mean, everything about blackness is gonna come out. That's the thing about us.
Right.
So I think it's the answer is gonna vary depending on who we're talking to, and it's
Yeah.
gonna vary depending on who's delivering the title giving of the Black
Right.
or the African Americanness. It's an interesting
Right.
topic because I'm pretty sure, like Rillo, with you being from Louisiana, I'm pretty sure that you would get all kind of different answers across the board. You know, because
Man, you know,
man, like it's so
I,
much
like
Black culture in Louisiana.
yeah, yo, Louisiana is definitely an interesting spot, man. Of course, like being from New Orleans, it's even like more of a melting pot. You have so many different ethnic backgrounds and national, like really like across the board, which really does provide for a rich culture in New Orleans, but also is very nuanced. Like, and I don't want to get to like my upbringing in New Orleans and how that was very, very tricky and sometimes confusing, right? Because
Right.
I don't like when we talk about like what does a black person look like? 'Cause that was his biggest thing, right? Oh, you don't look black. I'm like, well, what does black look like then? You know, like how do you define blackness? And then like
It's
Right.
so it's yeah, you
when
can't
you a
define
child,
that
like, that's
shit.
hard to explain to somebody. Like, you know,
Mhm.
it's like you be like, I mean, I don't know. Like, this is what my daddy told me. It's what my mama told me. And so it's like, I don't know. You want to talk to them? And so I can see why living and coming from New Orleans, and even when I left New Orleans, like, and I say that I'm black, people like, oh, how can you black? Your name's Cirillo anyway. You look like you like probably Mexican, and I'm like, what
Yeah.
the hell? I don't know.
I get the
It's
Puerto
definitely.
Rican a lot. I get the Puerto Rican. I ain't got a lick of Puerto Rico up in me at all. Sorry, y'all. Sorry, I'm not a Puerto Rican.
I know, but Mississippi, you know, it's funny because Mississippi, though, while there's a very nominal, like, you know, when I say nominal or marginal, like demographic of like Asian Americans and like, you know, Hispanic Americans and Latinx Americans that live in Mississippi, it's really, really just a black and white state. And
Yeah.
like, and so
Cam,
that culture there is different. What'd you say?
let me slide Cam in. And while
Oh,
I
he's
Oh,
slide
here.
Canada.
him in, yeah, I'm gonna switch over to my phone because my battery low, so I'm having a ghetto moment. Deal with it real quick, all right?
Deal
Black
with
with no
it. Camp's
filter.
coming on, y'all. Camp's coming on, y'all. The African American director of paid media for the Biden campaign. Man, look at this guy over here. He's also, what y'all should know, is the actual founder of Hip Politics, right here from Washington, D.C., man. But he's also a brother from Cleveland. There you go, baby, representing. Always on brand. Always on brand, man. Cam, how you doing today, brother?
What's good? Can y'all hear me?
Yes,
Loud and
yes.
clear.
Hey,
Loud
how
and
you guys
clear.
doing today?
Doing
The
well,
hat is
man.
just
Doing
right.
well.
The hat is just right. It's right. It's cool. You
Okay.
good.
Doing well, man. Glad to have you on, bro. How was the campaign trail been treating you, man? How you been?
Good. I have a saying. I'm stressed but blessed. I think we're in a good. If you don't have a little bit of stress, then you're not doing it right. But I think we're really feeling good about where we are. Always more work to do literally every day, every hour. But we're it's going well. It's going well. We're out. We're reaching. We're trying to find ways every day to cut through.
True, man. True. I
Beautiful.
mean, look, man, we got a few things to talk about, man, but I think it's important. You know, there's been press releases that went out, but a lot of folks out there don't really know the level of investment that the Biden campaign has actually made into paid media. But before we get into the investments made, right, historical moments and investments made by the Biden campaign, right? Um, I think we need to clear the air and really define what the hell is paid media. I think people hear all these terms like there's
No, you're
social
right.
media,
You're right.
there's earned media, there's paid media, there's like strategy
Perfect
this and all that.
question.
It's like, what is paid media, bro? Like, what is that?
So
Clueless, bro.
I keep it simple. I'm behind every dollar, every paid dollar that we spend to reach Black people. So
That's
paid
some dope
media,
shit.
yeah. So every paid media, as the I guess in the political sense and term, is all advertising and outreach that you put a dollar behind. So that's on TV, radio, print, all forms of digital, special activations, social media. So anything we're putting a paid dollar behind, I'm behind the strategy. I'm working with a dynamic Black-owned firm and Black producers, Black directors, Truxton Creative, led by Terrence Green, who's has over almost 2 decades worth of campaign experience. He started his own creative firm, so He's got a team of Black producers and writers and directors that are kind of really coming up with all of our ad concepts. And then in addition to working, we have several different activations and partnerships. So any ad you see on TV that is kind of targeted to African Americans, we're behind that. All these radio ads that you see up on all these radio ads you hear around the country and in our battleground states, that's behind us. Kind of special activations. We did a homepage takeover with the Shade Room. We've got special GOTV Live and Souls to the Pole concerts. Anything that we're putting some money behind. We've got some really cool things coming up over the next week or two with a lot of other different parts of African American culture. So that's what I would say, paid media. And it's so that's defines it. Anything we put $1 behind to get out to people, that falls under my department for Black people, and then our paid media department as a whole.
Okay, so let me
Appreciate
ask you this. With you having this type of role, like was this something that you designed? Was this something that you saw yourself doing? Or did you see yourself doing something a little bit more intrinsically into the political things? Like, because this is a lot. This is a hell of a lot. I mean, when you think of like booking acts and booking different people to come and speak for different events, that's already a big task in itself. So covering the whole media aspect of it, did you see yourself doing this much on this grand scale?
I'm a man of faith, so I'm one of those people who prays and ask God to open certain doors. The firm I came from before this, Precision Strategies, and career for the last decade plus has been usually in the strategic communications and marketing space, mostly in politics, but I've worked in music and hip hop. I've worked for the African American Museum, the Smithsonian, worked with John Lewis specifically, and then had clients. So I've had a good mix, even though I would say it's probably been a 60-40, 60% all politics, 40% a few other different things. So I've overseen the role that I'm in. I've overseen, and there's always been a paid media component to the teams, either whether I've been running a team or I've just been part of a team in terms of buying, maybe it's more specifically in digital, but understanding the TV and radio landscape, the print landscape. So all of my experiences prepared me for this. And I think part of the reason why I was put into this role and kind of really focusing on trying to thrive and really pushing this role forward is because I have a much more of a universal appeal. I haven't just been a media buyer for 10, 15 years. I've been a political strategist and been a political communications person. So I come to it with a little bit of a new eyes, a fresh set of eyes. And I would say something that the vice president in his campaign all the way top down has seen and understand just the paid media role. Like, we're in a 99% or 90% virtual campaign. Like COVID, like it's a completely different era. So where normal campaigns and this presidential campaigns, you kind of look in it recently, campaigns are almost like billion-dollar companies that have to sprout in 6 months and scale up from a few dozen people to a few thousand people and have to reach hundreds of millions of people. And that all happens over the course of a year. So it's the growth factor, if you compare it to businesses over, the growth factor is crazy. And so when I'm in this role not only for the strategy and understanding paid media, but also understanding the politics of it, and how do we use this in this virtual environment? How do we use resources that we're going to invest in, the messaging that we're going to invest to make sure we're touching everybody, and it serves us more than just like, hey, let me just put an ad here, and make something. It's like, no, like, this is economic empowerment. It speaks to an investment and the values of the campaign and the candidates to be able to invest in this. And like I said, invest in our program at a historic level.
So yeah, man. So Trump, right? We can't not talk about Trump and like what's happening across media, because like reason why I say that is because this is not in particular to FM paid media, but a lot of ads that you all had as a campaign that you decided to not run or take down from different news outlets. I'm assuming that maybe there were not necessarily more of attack campaigns against Trump, but can you talk about maybe some of the strategy, like what, like to me, I'm like bruh, like you got COVID, dog. You out here running around telling people don't worry about COVID, and yeah, you worrying about COVID, and so the ad should be somewhere along the lines of you kind of put this on yourself, bruh. You know what I'm saying? I'm just my thing is though is that why is it that and I guess it's more the broader question is why is it that Democrats are always looking at like to have the moral high ground when in fact right like the immorality of or irresponsibility of the president, the leader of the free world, to go around telling the entire American public, the entire world, that COVID is damn near a hoax, but yet we don't push back against that. I don't understand that.
Well, that was a packed question.
He was loaded.
That was a packed question. What I'll say is this: is one, we have consistently in our messaging is just kind of pointed out the obvious. This is both in my program, but as a whole, that the reason we're in some of this in such a bad position, and the reason the Americans is kind of suffering through this crisis at even a higher level than we probably would is due to his lack of leadership. And we've just continued to find ways to point that out, because that is the one thing, no matter you're Black, white, Latino, Asian, American, young, old, men, women, anybody, we're all universally affected by the COVID-19 crisis, and we're all going through that. And I think while the nuance of the messaging may be different, the understanding and like using that as a universal experience that we're uplifting consistently. So I would say how that relates to the work I'm doing. We have several various one of our ad series are these testimonials where we're just average American people. Like for me, I'm getting average Black people from all around the country. I've got an ad with James Gilliard, who's a big pastor in North Carolina, has one of the biggest churches in North Carolina. He just sat down and talked to us about the failures that he's seen. Like he can't have his members in church right now. He has to service so many people who can't leave their home, and people are passing away. Like that universal experience, or a business owner, a guy, Anthony, who owns a shop in Western Pennsylvania, or young guys that we have up in Michigan. We're all dealing with that, and letting people kind of explain, like, man, what they're losing and what they're missing out on, and what could have been different had we had different leadership. And then we're continuing to uplift that using people's voices, kind of pointing out a lot of things. We have an ad that came out recently, Condemned, literally using the Bob Woodward tapes that, in this media cycle, things kind of feel like, dang, when did that happen? So we've made sure we've uplifted several different just his lack of leadership and failure of leadership, and what that has also done both to the Black community and just to America as a whole. So I think, yes, we are taking the moral high ground. We're sorry, America. We want to tell you the truth. I'm sorry. Yes, Trump. Hey, truth. Let me throw that out the window. You know what I mean? Or it's like, no, Joe Biden, Senator Kamala Harris, Vice President Joe Biden, like they're taking the moral high ground. It's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's a personal, like that's the moral leadership, and that they're going to show and demonstrate both in the campaign and moving forward. But to me, I can be petty wop all day sometimes.
Petty wop.
You mean?
Come on.
I mean. And that's why I'm not ready. You know what I mean? I'm glad I'm working for and following behind the leadership of a man and a woman who have that kind of moral, who are willing to take the moral high ground and realize the truth is going to win out. Like, we understand the dirty tactics and the misinformation that's coming left and right, especially on social media, especially on some of his ads and things that he's willing to say, double talk, and the things that he's putting out. But we're kind of fighting back with the truth. And it's not just the anti-Trump. It's literally like, look at our policies and look at Like look at our economic policies, look at our policies around criminal justice reform, look at our policies around early education. Like look at here's the first person experiences of what people who really trust the Biden Harris ticket and their leadership. So that's kind of what we're focusing on, is like, it's no need to kick him while he's down, or we highlight the things he already says. But in addition to that, we're really focused on uplifting our policies, and really part of my job is translating that. Like our agenda, Lift Every Voice agenda for Black America, is like 30 pages long. So we got to break that down in bite-sized pieces that highlight things to people and then lead them back to the full plan. So that's what we're doing. We're worried about lifting up, not putting somebody else down.
Yeah,
I'm noticing that you've used the word Black, and before you jumped on, we were discussing the difference between Black and African American. So could you tell me, like, do you think that there's a bigger reach with using the terminology African American versus using Black? Because some people may be looking at you on the screen right now and saying, oh, okay, director of Black media.
I'm not sure. I would say, yeah. I mean, it's African American is a term. I'm African American. I'm a Black man. I think some of it is interchangeable. I think that's a interesting kind of semantics question over time, but I see no real difference. I see no real difference or no real penetration. Like, yeah, it's African American media, if anything, is, I guess, more of a formal term per se. But
yeah.
I identify as an African American. I identify as a Black man, as a black person, like interchangeable.
For sure.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, and it goes back to preferences. We mentioned that already before you jumped on. It's like, I think at the end of the day, it's like, if you want to choose to use to both interchangeably, as you mentioned, it's cool. If not, then that's also cool. So, but I know Mariana, you want to jump in, sis, and ask.
Oh no, I was just saying from the previous conversation or topic that he was on is that really is a testament to, you know, media and integrity in journalism. When you are actually trying to persuade a group of people with slander, you're actually insulting the people, because you're not allowing them their own mind frame, their own thoughts. But when you give narratives the way you're doing in your campaign and just allowing people to tell their own narrative, express their own story, you're allowing the viewer to use their own, you know, intellect, their own emotional intelligence to assess and extract the important information. So I think, you know, that says a lot, because right now, like you said, everything is just petty wop, and a lot of people are gaining attention based on appealing to emotion, which isn't always true. It's a temporary feeling. It's a campaign that can come and go, emotion that can come and go. So that really is a testament to just that journalistic integrity and not insulting your viewer by just sharing the narrative, allowing them to extract the truth, and then moving forward with their own educated decision. It's a different energy, and it's just a different, you know, way that we don't see very often, because we see so many slander campaigns, you know. So that's pretty cool to me.
That's a great point. Appreciate that, Mariana. Like, yeah. Oh, wait, Cam, you want to jump in? Go ahead.
No. I was going to say, yeah, I totally agree. I think part of the pandering / kind of divide with fear and misinformation, as opposed to like leading with truth and hope, is just a very different approach. But we're trying to allow the narrative of average Black Americans, to ring true, and, like I said, find every way we can, not only to let their stories be heard and why they trust the leadership of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but just using a lot of it, just using a lot of it to highlight what we're doing. And then I would say the other big thing that we're trying to really focus on is mobilization. And really now, as early vote really kicks in in like a lot of our states around the country, some of our top battleground states, but just around the country, we need to make sure that people understand how they can vote, when they can vote, where they can vote, and like really come up with a plan. So a lot of you'll see, while we're still telling the story and the narrative and the plans, we'll be highlighting a lot, state by state, to iwillvote.com, like really kind of pushing people toward to know how they can vote, create a plan to vote, and let people understand like how important it is and how they can get that done.
No doubt, man. And look, and I think it's like important though too, because you've been able to meet the Vice President Biden, and Senator Kamala Harris at this point, and it's like speaking to them just as people, right? I think a lot of times we get caught up in the minutia of just like the policies that's been passed, right? But I think it's something about when we look honestly when we look at back at Barack Obama's presidency, it's like we didn't just see the president, we saw like that was like the homie, that was like our own, that was like somebody that we could like sit down and chill with. Like you've been able to meet these people personally, and we spoke with Michael Bivins last week, and he talked about Biden personally and like what and how that kind of ended up showing through, and like and he spoke about that for you as a person working on the campaign, but also as a voter, right? Like who really is Biden?
I gotta keep real. He's the average Joe. Like I know we say that, but we say it because it's real. Like Joe Biden is a man, like is an everyman. He is a Scranton, Pennsylvania, grew up with super working class family. You know what I mean? Parents has gone through hardships his whole life, had personal tragedy. He's when you think about like even when I think about Black with No Chaser and like how you guys uplift so many young or younger leaders in the black community. Imagine if one of y'all became senator at 29, 30, but you just were so good at it, you kept doing it and you kept representing it and people kept bringing you back because of your service. That's what Joe Biden is. And it's like, yeah, he's an older man now, but it's because he was rooted ever since his youth in serving the people and connecting with people. He connects with people no matter their race, no matter their religion, their creed, gender, any of that. Like he's literally an average Joe. If anything, people always say, I mean, if anything, he just speaks straight. Like you kind of hear it, and sometimes when he may be not as politically correct, which I think a lot of people actually appreciate because he's like, hey, I'm cutting through all the BS. Like I'm gonna talk to you directly, and all the stuff that you may have your preconceived notions or how that may have been positioned to you. And one of the best things is when he's on the campaign trail and when he's really interacting person to person, people. Like I met him before I even joined the campaign a year ago at an event, and got to just spend some time backstage and talk to him and see him interacting with youth, see him interacting with a bunch of different people. And it's like, oh, this, and shaking my hand, giving me a couple minutes and like locking into you. Like even, you know, like campaigns, they got a million people to meet, shake hands. No, he's looking into you and like giving you that one-on-one. And then all the people I've got to meet that have known him for much longer and more deeply than I have, like he literally is the average Joe. It's like one of the closest things if like your regular guy became president and is taking with him all the experiences of regular people. In addition, it's not like, yeah, he's been a senator, so he knows a bunch of the power players and business leaders and stuff. He knows them too, but he's still a regular people. His family is regular people. They come from hardworking background, and he translates that. And he was a young actor. Essentially, think about it. Like he was a young activist back when he first got elected, and he's just been continuing to represent for people across generations for years. So he comes with that plethora of experience. I mean, that abundance of experience into the job, and probably one of the most ready on day one presidents we've ever had.
That's facts, man. Because nobody really, and even when you vice president, nobody really still knows what it means to be president. But he would actually, in fact, probably be the most ready president of all time. And that's why it's always like it calls into question. People say, "Well, are you ready to be president?" Like it's like having your first kid, right? It's like I don't know what it means to be a parent. I'm not a parent. Like only a parent can speak to being a parent. Only presidents can speak to whether or not they were ready to be president of the United States. I think one thing is,
but if you were next to the president,
you would have you would probably be most positioned to be president, right?
You don't have to get ready.
It's just so crazy to me when people talk about that, man. It's like, yo, how, like, why? And then we also see that when we bring people to the stage, Trump, right, or people like Trump that have no experience in politics, on how an administration is actually run, right? The people you're hiring, the interests, right? It's like, bro, we've seen Trump profit more off being a president than he was an actual businessman when he had to put all that to aside, right? We've seen him actually pay $750 in taxes in 2016. Meanwhile, Barack Obama paid what, closer to $1.6 million in taxes his first year in office. And so the thing about it is that this man has created double standards across the board on what it means to be president of the United States. I think that, like, for me, and I'll say this, I just want to see some type of standard generally happen, right? Like, we see our presidents operate and move in a particular way, and I just want to get back to some sense of normalcy and what that looks like, right? Like, we have our press secretary show up. They actually tell us the truth, right? We all get it that every campaign has a particular set of messaging, so we get that too. And there'll always be politics involved because there's so many things happening behind the scenes that a lot of us just don't really know and understand.
Right.
But I'll be honest with you, man. I'm just ready to get back to some normal administration work that's not involved in and steeped in lies. That's just what it is, yo. It's kind of crazy. But around, you looking at me like,
You
you
know,
looking
Cirillo, you're really not asking for much. You're really not
at,
asking for much. I just want to put that out there.
I know, but I mean, as I know, as Black people, we got an entire Black agenda, and we want to be spoken to. And I think that Cam has already talked about this, but like, and look, this is the first time, right, that truly, when dollars were being spent, this is the most dollars spent into Black communities in any campaign across the history of any presidential election or any campaign period combined, right? So when we're talking about what is Joe Biden or a Joe Biden administration going to look like, I mean, we have to actually look at the very start, right? We can look at what he's done in the past, but when I'm looking at somebody from the administrative side, the investments that's already been made, then that means that there's going to be, to me, we got to look at what is the logical, like the logical flow of what may happen in it. So we're talking about investment in HBCUs, right? We're talking about investing to communities of color, getting into college and alleviating and canceling out debt. All these things, right, are very, very important to scaling the economic ladder. If you're not a college student, there are also programs that's going to be out there for you. And so I just want to make sure that people understand like where we're at right now and the types of different things going to be happening. Also, healthcare, folks. Healthcare has been on the ballot since Trump has been in office, literally. And what I mean by that is right now, while Trump is lying to you, right, Cam? You can speak on this. While Trump is lying to you and saying that he's putting forth and going to protect people with pre-existing conditions, with about 100 million Americans right now living with pre-existing conditions. But at the same time, he's about to fight a case in the Supreme Court that he's front man on. Right? And he's going to try and gut the Affordable Care Act, i.e. Obamacare, for the sake of just gutting it. And while at the same time, right, saying that he's going to put together a comprehensive plan, which we've never seen, that our American people are going to be able to benefit from. That's where we at, y'all. I mean, it's just, you can't have both, bro. You can't gut an entire system and then go, I'm going to put a better system where you've never provided. And that's why he actually got pissed off with the Fox News moderator the other night when he asked about the comprehensive plan. He never had an answer to that because there was never an answer. Republicans across the board have no answer to what it means to actually have affordable health care in this country. Obama said it himself, if you put together a plan that's more affordable than my plan, I will literally myself remove that plan and input your plan. But there is no plan. That's just what it is. And we're gonna call a spade a spade. And I think that we got to get back to politics where we're not trying to dilute or take down every administration's wins. We need to actually build on those wins. That's what politics should be like. It shouldn't be, oh, you won and now I'm in here. Let me take away everything you done did and try to like start anew. That's stupid. It's literally stupid. And that's why people are pissed off with politics right now. And you know who's really bearing the brunt of all this? Black folk, poor folk, ordinary Americans, brown folk in America, marginalized folks, oppressed people. Why? Because while they trying to figure out who has the best plan, everybody in America waiting around to see like, what the hell, y'all? This was good. This was bad. Take the bad out, put in more good, and wham, bam, we got a better plan. That's literally what we should be doing. But anyway, man, Cam, I know, bro, you a very, very important brother, man. So I really want you to like for the last words. You got about 2 minutes on the show, man. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of Black with No Chaser and the Black Lunch Break. But everybody out there watching me right now, there's tons of voters watching this actual show, and will be thousands more. What one couple questions? One, what does Black with No Chaser mean to you? And two, right, what is your message to Black voters out there in terms of showing up to the polls on election day?
I'm Joe Biden.
Black with no chaser means to you unapologetically black, uh, black no cut, like just giving it straight to you. I've been following you guys, been a fan for a while. So, yeah, that's it means just being unapologetically black, unapologetic African American. Um, being able to bring your whole self everywhere you go. And what was the last question?
What's your final words for this Biden campaign to folks, Black folks, people of color, African Americans, whatever they want to be called? What would you say in your last words to them for your presentation today?
Your vote is your power. If your vote didn't have power, they wouldn't be working so hard to take it away. Like if your vote didn't have power, people would not have to have data to make sure you had the right to vote over all these years. If your vote didn't have power, they wouldn't be trying to trick you out of it or keep you at home. Literally, your vote is your power. We have to stand up and be counted from the top of the ticket down. Every time opportunity, from primaries to now, in literally the most consequential general election of our lifetime. I mean, we all have a shared experience. Like COVID-19, what it is and what's going on right now, like you don't have to look any further than that and see the unfortunate, the hundreds of thousands of people who passed away, the millions of people who've been affected, the millions of people out of work. These are non-negotiable facts, and we're all and it is hitting us all. Some of us in the Black community even disproportionately even more. So if there hasn't ever been a stark contrast and a stark reason on why we need new leadership, that is point number one. That is point number one. And I would, like I said, so your vote has power. Go vote. Like try to vote early if you can. Any state that you can, try to go vote early. IWillVote.com. And there's a really stark difference between Vice President Biden and Donald Trump. Like there's the choice couldn't be any clearer. With Vice President Biden doing so much, already showing with his actions in years of service, showing with his actions with how this campaign is invested and what this campaign is focusing on, and to let you know how he's going to lead. So vote. I would say IWillVote.com. Vote early. Vote for Biden Harris.
And vote.
And vote. hip hop community. Like you said at the top, I'm a child of hip hop. Like hip hop, we can help save the country. So make sure if you part of the hip hop community and culture, get your butt out and vote, please.
Thanks, Cam. Appreciate you, brother, for joining us, man.
Cam.
Love what y'all doing.
Wonderful evening.
Yes, sir. And while Cam makes his exit from center stage, y'all, real quick though, right? We have an ad right here, man. Before we jump into Mariana's, you should know portion of the actual show. We're gonna jump into a quick ad from the Biden campaign. So y'all hold on one brief second. This is very, very important. Stay tuned. So lock in. Oh, and by the way, y'all just tuning in. Make sure y'all sharing this across your entire networks. We do appreciate you again, as always, for joining the Black Lunch Break every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Central time, and do a little math, 10 a.m. Pacific time, all that good stuff like
brunch.
that. But here we go, y'all. This is And you're back. Beautiful.
I'm glad the captions were there because I couldn't hear anything.
You couldn't hear it?
But I can read well. I'm a very good reader.
Damn, man. Okay, okay. It's probably because I got my probably because I on my
It's
end,
all
right?
right.
So
That's the power of captioning. We need to make sure we're accessible to all viewers and listeners. So that's a good thing.
that's real. That's real. Well, this portion of the show right here is Ms. Mariana's You Should Know. So gladly pass it over to her.
All right. So everybody knows that. Well, for those of you who are new to hashtag You Should Know, my whole moniker is I can't tell you what to think. I can't tell you what to feel, but I can share with you what hashtag you should know so you can move forward and make your educated decision in the home, school, neighborhood, workplace, wherever you be at, right? And so I did on the last segment of You Should Know over on our other platform on Insta Woo Woo. Basically, I talked about cell phone safety and a scam that I was almost a part of. I almost got scammed by a fake Apple user, or a fake Apple representative, right? So I want to bring our attention to the fact that because of the multiple pandemics that we're in, we're going in high usage with our cell phone, with our devices. We're no longer in this land where it's a choice. And, because of whatever issues we have and the reasons why we don't want to operate through cyber world, you have to, whether it's work, whether it's school, whether it's paying your bills, we don't have the accessibility to do things in person. So with that high level and increase of using our cell phone, there's some awareness that we need to step into. And for those of you who have been a part of You Should Know or been present, we do three things. We demystify, we amplify, and we prioritize. So I want to focus this a little bit more on children this time, right? So adults, we're supposed to have our sanity. We're supposed to have our protective factors in place when it comes to using cell phones. But for those of you who are guardians, who are parents, who are educators, I would like to see you frame more conversation around cyber safety, around cell phone safety. And number one, let's demystify the idea that your kids, your students, your young people in your life are only playing games with their friends, only with people that they know. The average video game user who puts the headset on and goes into another world, they got grown folks popping in and out from all over the world playing video games and having the ability to have conversations with your kids. There's also in Zoom, there's Zoom bombers where people, if you don't have blocking these certain access codes, people can come on, and there's been all kind of pornographic things going on to where children are being bombarded with things of that nature. People are not considered about their higher good, right? So let's demystify the idea that even when we're buying our kids our cell phones and they're looking right at us on the other side of the kitchen table or in the car, that they're watching things that you would give them permission to. Let's be very realistic based off of the curiosity that kids have, and be realistic about the access that they have. So with that, being mindful, we need to, number two, is really amplify the fact that it's time to have more conversations around the safety of the cell phone, right? And of course, our kids aren't going to tell us everything we're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it. They're going to be sneaky, and that's part of development. But that doesn't omit the fact that it's our responsibility to have conversations that bring awareness to what can happen when and if you do encounter someone who is trying to manipulate you or con you or scam you. So I'll frame that with a story. And I'm a grown woman and I teach about safety. But y'all, I almost got last week. Let me tell you.
Oh no,
So
you was knee
What?
deep. You was knee
I
deep.
know you
I
did
mean,
this
like,
guy.
look, hey, look, I'm talking about like real life knee deep. Like
Like,
you
but
had
let
you
me
fired.
but it was gaslighting. So for those of you who don't know what gaslighting is, it's when somebody mentally and emotionally manipulates you and brings your focus to one area. And I'm the safety queen. They call me the Black Sister MacGyver, okay? It was
All
real.
facts.
So basically, but let me show you, because even with me having some of those protective factors present, think about the average 10-year-old, the average 11-year-old, or an elder in your family who barely uses their phone for the basics, but their phone rings and it says, your network has been breached, dial 1 to get to an operator. You do that because you think,
Right.
okay, something is unsafe. And if you have Apple Care like me, they frame themselves all about looking for the safety and the confidentiality of the user. But I got God, y'all. Now, mind you, The gentleman had a very deep Indian accent. And I did ask him what his name was, and he said his name was Chris Evans. I said, Chris Evans, where are you from? He said, Covington, California. Now, that was kind of a red flag. It was like a pink flag, but I was like, all right, I ain't going to discriminate. I'm not going to discriminate. So he begins to go down this whole rabbit hole of how there may have been a breach in my network. He asks me if he can have access to help. Now, because I have worked with Apple users before, and I know that they can help you with any of the malware that's on your computer, he uploaded a My Assist program, which gave him access to my computer, y'all. Now I felt like, I was being promiscuous. He was all up in my goodies on my computer, y'all. He was all up in my files, right? I'm just watching him, just going through things. And then he produces, which I learned later, he produced this whole scroll, right? And this is when my protective factors and the gaslighting started, because he was like, do you see this? Do you know someone in San Diego? Do you know, have you clicked any bait for a program out of San Antonio? And he was going on. He was like, you see where it says listen? This is where they're listening to your conversation and they're tapped into your network. So, you know me, I'm like, well, I ain't got too much crazy stuff on there. But it weakened this part of me where I felt vulnerable, right? And because he's posing as this, now mind you, I didn't just let him get in on my goodies. While we were online, he sent me an email with the Apple Care insignia, with an Apple representative ID number, with a service number and all that. And it looked legitimate. I've received emails from Apple. So that was what did weaken my protective factor. So I will say that. And he referred to it. And again, he kept saying, we're out here for your best interest, yada, yada, yada. So making a long story shorter, finally he goes, I said, well, what do I need to do? At this point, I'm like, people are tapped into my network. He's showing me 156 breaches. So it's like a scroll, right? And so he says, well, what you need to do is you need to go to Apple and you need to get a security card. And once you get that card, we can service it. So as the conversation proceeds, basically he wants me to go get an Apple card from a retail store. So then, now look, that's bad. I'm telling on myself. I let him get all in my goodies with just the email. But when he wanted some money from me, then my flag started going up. So I said, well, how much is this security card? What do I need to get? He said, well, it ranges from $15 to $500. I was like, well, wait a minute. You let me know my system is breached. There's not a flat rate for the service for whatever you have to do. And so he goes, no, it can range. So
whatever you could give me, whatever I could scam you out of.
Exactly. So now I'm like, oh, hell no, you trying to get in my pocket. So my wall goes up. And mind you, he's like, look at this, your firewall is down.
You should have told him.
Remember.
I'd have been like, you got 15. I ain't got 15.
Wait, it gets worse. So he said, so when he sees my little protective factor go back up, he goes, well, let me check your firewall. He's like, look at this. Your computer is completely exposed. Your firewall is down. And I was like, I don't remember taking my firewall down. And then he's like, look, have you ever downloaded these programs? And I was like, well, those security programs came with it. So now the gaslighting is on number 10, right? So finally, I interrupted his whole game plan because that was his attempt to weaken me again. I said, well, what if I don't have $500? I said, what about all of the people in the world who don't have $500? So then he goes, oh, we understand, times are hard right now and people are losing their jobs and it's really difficult. We empathize. And so finally I was like, well, I ain't got $500 to give you. And I'm not going to drive all the way over there for you to tell me if it's going to be 15 or 500. I said, you called me. He said, no, I didn't. So now I'm like, oh, now you got me thinking I'm crazy. I said, my phone rang. He said, yes, but you pressed 1 and it led you to me. So now I'm like, okay, this isn't cool. You're not getting my money. He's like, well, wait a minute. We can do it manually. So I'm like, so you mean you can do this yourself? He's like, yes, but it'll take 24 hours, but we can do it for free. I said, well, why didn't you offer that in the first place? So now all the shit show is coming to the front, right? So at the end, he basically tells me, don't use your text message for 24 hours and don't use your email for 24 hours. And in that time, call back and let them know you need to get this malware off. So I was like, oh, hell no. So I called my best friend and I'm like, yo, I can't use my phone. Call on 3-way. We call a real Apple provider. He says, yes, you got a bad actor. These are often people who used to work for Apple Care, who know all the lingo, who have all these mock programs. He said, number one, we will never call you. Number two, we will never get direct access to your computer. We can get on there and guide you with the red arrow, in which he did. He helped me to get all of the malware off. He helped me to secure my computer. And he told me to tell everybody, your mama names, and everybody at Black with No Chaser. This is a prime example. If you're a 12-year-old, if you're a 13-year-old, and if you already have an Apple card, he would have gladly taken the Apple card and the $50 or the $100 that I had. So I really want you to have a story, an example of how somebody who's vulnerable can get taken advantage of, and make sure to have these conversations with your children, with your elders, hell, with your peers, because it was easy. It was easy to make me feel vulnerable. And then last, prioritize those conversations, change your passcodes. I made sure to change my passcodes, because what he was going to do is, even though I wasn't going to go to the store and buy a card and give him access to the scratch code, get my money and be gone, he then had access to my computer. So within that 24 hours, he would have had my passcodes. But luckily, I got online and handled everything immediately. So don't press one. And this is not just with Apple Care. This could be with a variety of companies who are thriving on surviving off of people who don't have the knowledge on how they're getting access to their codes, their accounts. And that's what I got for hashtag you should know. Be aware. Don't be scared. Don't be vulnerable. Don't fall for the gaslighting. Have your protective factors up, and don't give up your goodies on the computer, y'all. Don't give up your goodies like Miss Mariana did.
Woo! Hey, y'all. Goddamn.
Shit.
All I know is that, look, if somebody hit me up via email, I'm skeptical, dog. First,
Bro, I'm thinking about
I'm
Mario.
about to say it.
Straight
I'm about
up.
to say it right now.
You ain't gonna get
Ain't no goddamn way. But look, y'all, before we go, today was like Lunch Break, man, episode, what was it, episode 7, 8 right here, right? Season 2, so episode 8, we had Cameron Trimble and the African American paid media director for the Biden campaign. Once again, thank you so much for Ken. And also, if you're just watching this right now, make sure you follow Hip Hop Politics. That's Ken's show. And lastly, make sure you follow Black Lunch Break, Black with No Chaser, PC, Miss Mariana, and everything with Black with No Chaser. And also go get you some merch. Go check out that merch store at blackwithnochaser.myshopify.com. Go check that out. Anyway, look, before we go, we got one last thing to show y'all. It's the last but not least, man, the ad for National Biden campaign. So y'all stay tuned. After that, we out, y'all. So we back. We're gonna share.
Put on the volume.
Why in this nation do Black Americans wake up knowing that they can lose their life in the course of just living their life?
Part of the point of freedom is to be free from brutality, from injustice, from racism, and all of its manifestations.
We have to let people know that we not only understand their struggle, but they understand the fact that their dignity. They gotta know we're listening.
Reforming policing in this country means creating a national standard on use of force and conditioning federal funds for police departments on adoption of that standard. It's about reining in qualified immunity. We hold police officers accountable.
We can't turn away. Now is the time for racial justice. I believe with every fiber in my being, we have such an opportunity now to change people's lives for the better. It's about who you are, what you believe, and maybe most importantly, who you
Y'all go
want
ahead.
to
I'm
be.
going like 30 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, Ken, my team is interesting enough to be split.
All right, y'all. So we back.
That's it.
That's it, y'all. That is it. Anyway, this is the Black Lunch Break. Sorry about all the craziness today, man. Y'all know the internet's be hating on us every single time, man. With the Black Lunch Break. So glad y'all.
The internet don't want us to be great. The internet don't want us to be great. We ain't stopping.
We ain't stopping, yo. Can't won't stop, yo. This is Black with No Chase in the Black Lunch Break, where we take black.
We live black. Unapologetically.
Unapologetically.
Peace.
We out.
Peace, y'all.